Hello friends, we are back this time with the mathematical modeling of tubular heat exchanger. And before we go in for modeling of the tubular heat exchanger, let us discuss some of the fundamental equations which are used for modeling these kind of systems. We will be also discussing some of the equations which are used in CSTR, that is continuously stirred tank reactor. These fundamental equations, they are the rate equations. They can be the transport rate equations or the kinetics rate equations. Let us first start with the simple transport rate equation. These rate equations are needed to describe the rate of mass or the rate of energy or the rate of momentum that is being transferred between the system and its surroundings, and these equations are developed in courses on the transport phenomena, which not exactly our syllabus as such, but we'll be making use of these equations now and then. So the first one, which is quite oftenly used, is the amount of heat that is supplied by steam to the liquid of a tank heater. That's given by the transfer equation. Q is equal to, as you can see from here, it is Q is equal to U into AT into TST minus T. Let's see what is U. This U is exactly speaking the overall heat transfer coefficient, and that depends on a number of things depending upon the make and the state of the state, means the quality of heat exchanger which you're making use of, its metal and so on and so forth. So A is the total area of heat transfer, and ST is the temperature of the steam, and this is the temperature difference, basically temperature difference between the steam and the tank as we are going in for. So what we see is that this Q is the total amount of heat supplied, and it's to be multiplied by these two things. To have the proper amount, we need to know the area in contact, and we need to know the temperature difference. So that will become the total amount of heat supplied per unit time. As you see that the units of this U, the overall heat transfer coefficient, will be, this is amount of heat supplied per unit time, this will become per unit area, and this will become per unit temperature difference. So that will be the dimensions, or that will be the units of overall heat transfer coefficient which we are making use for a given kind of type of the heat exchanger which we are using. Other two kinetic rate equations, these are the ones which are to describe the rate of chemical reactions taking place in a system, as in case of CSTR. And it's a simple equation, so to say. The equation goes like this, if you see, where you have R is equal to K naught e the power minus capital E by RT into CA. So this is the exponential term. This is the exponential term, and this term is occurring before the exponential term. So it is sometimes called pre-exponential term. Pre-exponential. So let us see what is this small r, what is this k naught, and so on. So small r, of course, is the rate of reaction, and what is k naught? The k naught is called pre-exponential kinetic constant. The reason I've told you what is called pre-exponential. Capital E is the activation energy for the reaction, and capital R, what you have been studying for so many years, right from standard 7th or 8th, it's ideal gas constant, and capital T and Ca, these are the respective temperature and concentrations of the reacting fluids. So these are the two equations which we have seen, the transport rate equation and the kinetic rate equation, used in number of models. We'll be making use of the first one in this model. Maybe the second one will be used somewhere else. Right now, we are moving on to mathematical modeling of tubular heat exchanger, and we're going across a new concept, because so far what we have been doing was we were considering all the parameters to be lumped. Lumped means they are not distributed, because you have two approaches. One is the lumped parameter, the second one is distributed parameter. What is distributed parameter is something new. So far what we have been doing was just the lumped parameter approach. This is the new approach. The distributed parameter approach is the new approach which we shall be learning, and this is perhaps the reason we are going in for the mathematical modeling of tubular heat exchanger, because there are so many things to be modeled. Why we chose this one was the reason we want to introduce the concept of distributed parameters as such. So friends, here we are with the tubular heat exchanger, and let's understand its working before we start moving on to its mathematical part. You see the liquid is entering into a tube at temperature T1. So capital T means temperature, small t means time. This is we have to keep in mind all the times lest we get confused. And it is entering the tube. Ultimately it's passing through the tube and leaving the tube at temperature T2. Obviously T2 is more than T1. Why? Because this liquid is getting heated. Heated by what? By steam. This steam is entering the outer covering of this tube, and it's getting out from here. The steam is getting in from here and it's getting out from here. So what we see, the point to be noted is that we have a cross section over here, small cross section of thickness delta Z or delta Z as you call it. So if you move from here to here, you find that the length up to this point was LZ, and at this point this becomes, the length becomes Z plus delta Z. So this difference of the two lengths is delta Z. This is the length up to LZ and this is the length up to LZ plus delta Z, and this is the difference. And this difference is there. We see that the temperature is also gradually changing from T1 to T2. It's changing not only with respect to time, but it is also changing this time with respect to distance, with respect to the length of the tube. So the temperature at this point is taken as T at Z, and the temperature at this point over the distance having traveled delta Z more. So this place, it's the temperature is T at Z plus delta Z. This is the length Z plus delta Z. So we'll be focusing all that is happening in this small area, in this small region as we might call it. This small region, if you see, its length is delta Z. If its diameter is capital D, then multiply by capital D multiplied by pi, that is the circumference. Capital D multiplied by pi, that is the circumference, and that circumference multiplied by delta Z, that circumference multiplied by delta Z becomes area. So area is nothing but pi into D into delta Z. So this is the area, this is the area, and multiply this area, you see, if I multiply by U and multiply by the temperature difference between this point and this point, then that will be the total amount of heat going in, that total amount of heat per unit time, of course, that will be Q. So all these things which you are listening to me, I suppose, very carefully, will be made use of in the subsequent slides, and then you say, oh my god, from here has this come. I'm telling you right now that this is the way the heat is going to enter into this system. Some heat is getting into this system, and when I say system, I mean this boundary. As you can see from the pointer over here, this is the system which I'm considering right now. So we will be applying all those laws of conservation of energy, blah blah, on this particular region only. So some enthalpies entering in, some enthalpies moving out, the difference of the two, plus some heat which is getting in. So that total will be the total amount of heat which is getting, or heat means thermal energy, which is getting accumulated. This is the thermal energy which is getting accumulated in this region. So as we see, the total amount of heat which is getting accumulated is the heat which is entering from here minus the heat which is leaving this plus the heat which is entering from the steam part, that is the outer shell. So having this thing in mind, I think you have now a fairly good idea what I'm all talking about. We will now go in for modeling this thing in mathematical terms. So what we have told you and what I'm going to tell you this time, I will be very specific and repeating that the temperature of the liquid not only changes with time but also along the axial direction z, right, from the value t1 ultimately to the value t2 at the exit. We are assuming that this temperature is not changing along the radius of the pipe. So consequently, we have two independent variables. The first variable is of course time. Along with time, this is the another one, that is z, the length. Things are changing not only with respect to time, but they are also changing with respect to length. So the entire thing, if you see the model, the dynamics will be changing as per not only with respect to time but also as with respect to length of the tube. And that's why we are not going to take, we were taking earlier the lumped parameters, because the things are different in different sections of the tube. Therefore the model which we're going to develop is actually the one which is distributed along the length, and therefore this is called distributed model. This is the distributed model of the tubular heat exchanger. So this is what we're going to see in the subsequent slides. My dear friends, be very careful. You miss one point and then you will keep on scratching your head as to why it happened and how it happened. And of course, the good point is that you can always pause and you can rewind the video and you can watch it again. But then it's always better whatever you get it for the first time. It's just like first love. You have the good feel of it if you get it for the first time. So my dear friends, once again, as I've already explained you what's the energy balance all about, here we go. The amount of enthalpy which is getting accumulated in that region which I was showing, which has circumference of pi into d, which has the length of delta z. The total amount of energy which is getting accumulated in this is, let us see what's the mass there. The mass over there will be the area of the cross section what we have of the inner pipe, multiplied by delta z, that is the volume of that region, multiplied by rho, this is the mass. So rho into volume is mass, multiplied by this mass multiplied by what we call it as specific heat or heat capacity as it's known in this textbook. So this heat capacity Cp, and into the rise in temperature. So what's the rise in temperature? If you see that it stayed in this region for some time delta t, and the temperature at the beginning at of the time t and the temperature at the time t plus delta t, this was the rise. So as you see that t plus delta t, this is the total amount of energy which is acquired by that section in time delta t. So that's a rise in temperature in time delta t. That's why we see the temperature, the final temperature at this point, and the initial temperature at the point when it had started the whole thing. And this is the amount of enthalpy which is accumulated, is nothing but mass into Cp into delta T. As simple as that. Once again, mass is nothing but volume is nothing but A into delta Z, and this volume multiplied by density, that becomes mass, into Cp into delta T, that becomes the total amount of heat which is acquired in time delta T. This is the first part, and this is equal to, again I said, something going in and something going out, and something which is transferred from the steam. So what is going in? What's going in is at the length t, at the point z, the amount of enthalpy going in is the flow rate. Flow rate is nothing but the volume flow rate. Volume flow rate is velocity into area, and if you multiply this volume flow rate with density, it becomes the mass flow rate, and mass flow rate multiplied by Cp multiplied by the temperature at which it's flowing multiplied by the amount of time for which it flows. This is the total amount of enthalpy which is flowing in the section, because it's flowing in, so that's why we have a positive sign over here. Similarly, when it leaves at length L is equal to Z plus delta Z, definitely its temperature will be higher, because why it's going to be higher, because it's gaining heat. So whatsoever is moving out with a higher enthalpy. So what's flowing out, because it's flowing out, that's why we have a negative sign over here. And also the same thing as we had over here, with the only difference that here the temperature was at point Z, here the temperature is at point Z plus delta Z. So this is only difference, otherwise everything is the same. You have same velocity, same area, same Cp, same rho, and same delta T. So this goes with the negative sign. Plus whatsoever is being transferred by the steam, and whatsoever is being transferred by the steam, this is Q. Q is the amount of heat per unit time per unit area, and that has to be multiplied by the area. And because it's to be multiplied by the area, so this area is nothing but pi into d into delta Z. This is what I've told you, that pi into d is the circumference, and delta Z is the length, and therefore the area through which it's moving is given by this equation, and it's happening per unit time. So it's to be multiplied by delta T to know what's the total amount of enthalpy which is transferred from steam to the liquid through the wall through a given amount of time in delta T. And ultimately we will be replacing this Q by the equation which we had studied earlier, taking into account that this is the factor of A we have already taken for. So this is not to be multiplied by A once again, it's already been multiplied by A over here. So that's the only difference, otherwise you will have to go in for the same equation over here. And this we see is that ultimately this equation, if you see very carefully, this equation contains delta Z over here. This equation contains delta T over here. It contains delta T over here, and it contains both delta Z as well as delta T. So the first thing we do is that we will first of all divide the entire thing by delta Z and delta T. So this term will go and this term will go. In this thing, because you already have delta Z, so this entire thing will get divided by delta small t. Small t, I'm specifically mentioning small t because small t is for time and capital T is for temperature. So what we have over here, in the numerator you will have the delta of temperature, divided by, in denominator you will have delta of small t, that is time. So ultimately what you will have is the rate of change of temperature with respect to time here. What you have over here is, because it's getting divided by delta T and by delta Z, so this delta T will get cancelled. It will be divided by delta Z, or you can call it delta Z. So in the numerator you will have the temperature difference, that is delta T, and you see the higher temperature is on this side and the low temperature is on this side. So this entire term will become negative, but when it is it's transferred or transposed to from right hand side to left hand side over here, this negative will become positive. But the point to be noted is that the numerator will be delta capital T and the denominator will be delta Z. You will have delta Z over here because you are dividing all the entire equation by delta T and delta Z. This delta T will get cancelled, and in the denominator you will have delta Z. So if you are able to understand me properly what I'm trying to do, you will just have a direct visual expression in the coming slide. But then instead of saying oh ye kahan se aa gaya, from where has this come, you better understand what we are going to do in the next slide. Once again, Q is the amount of heat transferred from steam to the liquid per unit time and per unit area. That's why I'm going to multiply by area. and area, as I've already told you, is given by pi into d into delta z. This is what we have been doing over here. If you say the area of the cross section of the inner tube, that's a, and v is the velocity as we have said, and d is the diameter, external diameter of the inner tube. So what I already told you, that we shall be dividing the entire equation by delta z and delta t, and not only stopping over there, we will assume again further, we will go on putting the limits that delta z also tends to 0 and delta t also tends to 0. In that case, these deltas will become differential equations. Let us see how. So my dear friends, here we are finally, as I told you, that this term will be di t by di small t. Why I'm saying di? Because it's partial differentiation. You can call it curly, you can call it di, or you can call it by any other name. So this is, I call it di capital T by di small t, rate of change of temperature with respect to time. This entire thing in the previous equation was actually on the right hand side, but it was coming with a negative sign, and so we are transposed this onto the left hand side, and now this term has divided by delta z, and delta z tending to 0, this becomes di capital T by di z. So this is the point to be noted, and of course this if you see, was nothing but pi into d into q. We will put the value of q in the next step over here, but right now you focus over here. What's happening? What we are doing is that this is something which is of utmost importance in this particular mathematical modeling, where we see that we are having this rate of change of temperature with respect to time. In this equation, we are having rate of change of temperature with respect to the length in this term. So this equation contains two different changes with respect to time and changes with respect to length of the tube. It's moving along the length of the tube, and that's why, because it's moving along the length of the tube, I have to be very, very careful. This is not the traditional method which we normally say is a lumped method. This rather is a new kind of method, and that method is what we call it as, or that approach, what you call it as the distributed parameter approach. But before we go to that point and conclude the session, it's already getting quite long today, but anyway, it's important that we understand that what we have over here, this pi into d into q, this q, as we said, is equal to the overall heat transfer into area. It's already multiplied by area, so we need not multiply by area once again, into the temperature difference, and we put it over here, and this we put it over here. What we see is that the equation which we get over here, ultimately, as I told you earlier also, that this is the final equation, which is the final equation for getting me not only the rate of change of temperature, which we are interested in with respect to time, as we normally used to do it. So far we were considering only this term, but along with this term we have this time another term, and that term, as you have seen, is rate of change of temperature with respect to length. So because of these two different terms, this model is slightly different from the rest of the models, because here we are seeing the rate of change not only with respect to time, but also along the length of the tube, and that's, we say, it's a distributed kind of, it's the distributed parameter system as such. So if someone asks you what is the difference between the lumped system and the distributed system, this is one of the best examples to elucidate this difference. So this was about mathematical modeling of tubular heat exchanger. In case you have any queries or doubts or observations you want to share with me, you can contact me through WhatsApp or Zoom, or through the normal telephone or the mobile phones, or through the face-to-face interactions, as the case may be. I hope you all have enjoyed this session with me about the mathematical modeling, thereby coming to the point of a new approach of distributed parameter systems. As such, I thank you for being with me once again, and I wish you a safe stay. Enjoy learning. Bye bye.